Hello, everyone. It is Tuesday morning in Hawaii. Therefore, it is time for another edition of Tuesday Morning Shenanigans. I am your host, Aaron of the Rave Corner. And joining me, have my special guest, the House of Blues. How you doing, Blue?
Thanks for having me back. I'm doing
It is time
good.
for another edition of Tuesday Morning Shenanigans. I hear feedback.
Yeah.
The Rave Corner. And joining me, have my
It's
special
the
guest,
remix.
The remix version. Awesome.
Yeah, every time I try to open up the live chat box, it kind of has me. I forget to put the mute button.
And so we got the chat box open right now?
Yeah.
Awesome. So by now, you already figured out that this is another streamed edition of Tuesday Morning Shenanigans. And today's topic, we will talk about Holy Grails of our collection. And don't worry, this will be a lot more shorter than the previous episode. We actually hit, well, dare I say, we actually broke the show's own personal record by having the longest show ever. And I don't think we'll be able to top that. We had it clocked
who knows?
Woo! Who
No.
knows? We actually had it clocked in at about 2 hours and 25 minutes.
Hey, I've done over 24 hours.
Yeah, that's your personal best from Extremely Retro. But oh my goodness, well, it's just one of those things where you start off a conversation and you just don't realize how much time actually passes by until you hit the stop broadcast button and you actually see how long it actually happened.
Yeah, dude, I completely agree. Like I said, a lot of the streams, it's just like, like as long as the topic everyone, has a little experience with, or that's their passion, it's kind of just like hanging out with people,
Yeah, so for those who actually stuck it throughout the entire episode, I thank you for watching or listening, as you were probably doing something else. So we're going to be talking about Holy Grails of our collection. And the thing about Holy Grails is when Blue and I actually started to become friends and talk about Holy Grails of the collection, it was always a topic that I always tiptoe around because, frankly, in the world of collecting, the term Holy Grail is pretty much arbitrary, and that title sticks with the said item until that item gets collected, and then the title passes on to something else. So it's there. From my own personal experience, there has been not one a single item, if you will, that has been singled out as the only Holy Grail compared to works of fiction, because in literature there has only been one. So that's why it was a little bit hard for me to talk about it.
Yeah, when you told me about the subject Holy Grail, I was like, man, I'm not really I haven't watched the Holy Grail in a while.
Are we talking about Monty Python's?
Yeah, like Terry Gilliam. I'm not familiar too much with that.
But in the world of collecting, basically, if you ask every single collector, doesn't matter what they collect, if you ask every single collector, their own definition will vary. But from my own perspective, I generally think that what is considered a Holy Grail in anyone's collection is something that, is limited in numbers, something that still gets a lot of praise for all of the features to this day, and is still high in demand. That's good. That sort of aspects rings especially true in toy collecting. But Blue, how does that hold up to as far as movie collection goes? Has there ever been a time where a specific copy or print of a movie, whether it be in a special collector's box edition, or maybe they just went for another, I think they go for platinum editions, things like that. Has there ever been a limited number where the demand shot up so high that obtaining a TV or movie variant set is actually going up in prices.
Well,
Not prices. I mean value, so to speak.
yeah, there's always the outer print. I just did a live stream a couple weeks ago, and we talked about outer print titles that are in our collection. So, as far as movies go, being a movie collector, I never did it for trying to get things that are rare just because of, oh, the chances of this going up, I want to have it. Usually with movies, you want the best edition, the best quality when you're watching it.
That I can agree, because
yeah. So why have movies if you're not going to watch it? And in my early phases, I started off with I think Garbage Pail Kids and the baseball cards. So a lot of that was, you want the rare ones. You want the ones that are going to hold its value. But with movies, it's like you want to watch them. I'm a fan of movies. And if all you want to do is keep it sealed and not being able to watch it, or have a crappy, edition, let's say, for example, let's say the VHS is out of print worth big bucks. It's like, okay, that'll be kind of nice to have just to say you have it. But, if it's one of your favorite movies, you want that thing on Blu-ray and HD quality,
Yeah. Oh, remember the times when a movie, depending how long they were, they actually had to be split up among two separate VHS tapes? What the most modern
Titanic.
one that comes to mind was, of course, Titanic.
Yes.
But it's not like towards the end of the first half, it will have a message that says switch to tape 2. It just cuts off right there, and you're supposed to take the tape out and swap it with the second one.
Yeah, a lot of laser discs you had to flip over.
And that would just cut off somewhere in between the movie as well, with no advance warning or courtesy message.
Yeah, you're kind of like, oh, what happened? Then you're like, oh yeah, there's this.
It's a two-sided laser disc.
Yeah, and that's how annoying is that,
Yeah.
At the time, I guess that's the way it was, so you just accepted it. But now it's like, what an inconvenience, have to get up at one of the best parts when it got juicy to flip it over.
Yeah, I can attest to your point of wanting to, as soon as you buy the more, I wouldn't say advanced, but more digitally remastered, modernized version of specific movies, how tempting it is to just open it and watch it. Because I started off with just a bunch of VHS tapes of Godzilla movies. And at first I thought I was content with just owning them. But then when I got a DVD player, I started to collect as many DVD discs as I can. At first I thought I was going to stop there. But then when I got my very first Blu-ray player, and then an HD TV set to go with that, as soon as I watched a more remastered version of Godzilla movies on a Blu-ray player, it started a whole, how do I put it? It started off a spark, and a whole, my whole interest just made me want to buy more Blu-rays just to compare the quality between the Blu-ray version and the DVD version.
Yep.
And thanks to you, I happened to get my copy of Godzilla vs. Biollante, because I only had the DVD at the time.
That's what I was saying is, to me, I'm not the biggest Godzilla fan out there, but the thought of knowing that you didn't have it was one of the few you didn't have, and you've been looking around forever, I was like, this is just sitting on my shelf. Yes, it's out of print, but it didn't have a special place for me. So I was willing to give you a good deal on it just because I knew, to have like one or two Godzilla films in your entire collection, and that's one of them. It was like, oh wow, you need this,
Yeah, So to this date, it is technically standing as the holy grail of my Blu-ray collection.
But there's one that you said, the
Yeah,
Space Amoeba. What is it?
Space Amoeba. It's
Yeah.
also in well, the original title is called Space Amoeba and it's from Toho, but a long time ago it actually had, you know, the Americanized version with the American dubbing and all of that stuff. It was renamed as Yogg the Space Monster.
Oh,
And it's about these group of, I think they are traveling biologists, one of those scientists that travel to uninhabited regions just to study what sort of life forms are there, document it, and take their data back home with them. So they're on this uninhabited island, and one day a spaceship crash lands. The aliens who came from the ship are in the form of these parasitic amoebas. And what they do is they crawl and they find a host to take over, and then that host suddenly mutates to become a giant kaiju. So one took over the body of a squid and it formed a giant squid called Yogg. One was a turtle, more like a land turtle, and then it was called that one was called Kamiba, and the third one took over a crab, and that one became Ganame, something like that.
wow.
So you have these scientists who are dealing with these gigantic kaiju, and I think there has been some scenes where the kaiju actually met and they fought each other, but I don't know what the exact details are because I haven't seen the movie yet, and there hasn't been that much coverage or video reviews of that movie, and that includes some movie clips in between. So I wish I knew more details, but this is as much as I know, or at least what I think I know. So I'm not sure if it came out on Blu-ray, but I know it definitely came out on DVD.
Yeah, I don't think it would. I have never came across that searching for Blu-rays or know of anyone who mentioned that, even if they were Godzilla fans or kaiju fans. So it's probably just on Blu-ray. I mean DVD.
I believe it was distributed by Shout Factory, and they're responsible for bringing some Japanese
Oh
pop culture over
wow!
to the United States, especially the Ultraman series.
Yes, yes.
Of course, I think they came out in, geez, well, it's been a lot of years since they came out. So, of course, they've been out of print for a very long time. Therefore, I think last time I checked, finding a DVD copy that is sealed would cost me around $30 compared to what the market value was initially. It probably would have been, would you say 13, maybe $15 for a DVD movie? Who knows?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're going retail price, I would say yeah. But like you said, if it's out of print, rare, I mean, it could be in the hundreds.
Yeah, it is one of those gems that I think I haven't seen that many bad reviews. Therefore, a lot of people have nothing good. I mean, nothing else but good things to say about it. But at the same time, it is also one of the hardest piece of movie history, if you will, from Toho that is really hard to find in the American market. So thankfully, Shout Factory was able to obtain licensing, get those copies out to the American audience. But of course, I was way late to the party. By the time I realized that not only was it made, but they were out of print, of course, it was too late, and I'm at the mercy of secondary market prices. But eventually,
Yeah.
I'll get there.
I mean, there's that chance that a lot of hunters, I've seen people in the video game community, I've seen people in the movie community go out to, like pawn shops, garage sales, and are lucky enough to come across that oh my God, these guys don't know what they have, you know,
Oh yeah.
to find it like at a Goodwill, at a Savers. Um, we have 3 people watching, which is cool. And we have Leroy Green 85. He's commenting, making fun of me.
What for?
He just said you better have some steel books, and he said most of the Godzilla fans never thought Godzilla 1985 was gonna get a Blu-ray release, but it did.
Oh yeah, that was another obscure title that was, well, it was it was something that didn't get enough attention. That's the point I was trying to make, because compared to the other popular movies from the Heisei era, of course they would always get first priority. But Godzilla 1984, before it got a DVD and Blu-ray release, we were at the mercy of just getting the Americanized 1985 version, which only came out on VHS. Some people went out of their way just to obtain an Asian version of the movie in DVD or Blu-ray. Of course, you would have to have an Asian specific region player, depending which format you had, just to watch it. And if they were lucky enough, that copy will come with English subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this was definitely a really good thing to be adding to the collection. I'm still waiting for our Barnes and Noble store to actually have them in stock. I've been keeping tabs of them for a few months, but they never have them. I think I might resort to ordering that thing online if nothing else progresses.
Yeah. The thing about online too is being a collector is you really got to trust either UPS or the post office, you know.
Oh man, one of the
like,
harshest things that could ever happen is when you get your unopened case and you hear something rattle and shake inside. That will ruin anyone's day. I had about 3 discs being ruined that way.
Yep, I had several Funko Pops come in, like corners bent, and you know, and it was packaged pretty good through Amazon. But it's like, okay, well, these guys, the post office guys or whoever's handling the package, man, they'd be throwing it and stuff.
Was this Amazon Prime?
Well, it's. I don't have Amazon Prime, but I get the benefits if I spend like over $50. So usually it was, you know, that speedy service. And then I didn't tell you, Killer Cal knows about this because he saw my video, but one of my Funko Pops, you know, the tape that they put on the box that actually says like Amazon.com, that little, you know, kind of like printed tape, kind of like the cardboard field with like little threading that you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know that.
I actually had a piece of that taped on the Funko box, and if I were to take it off, it would just rip everything off.
So you're saying that somebody sealed the top lid of your Funko Pop box with that packing tape?
It had, yes, it has a big piece of packing tape on it. So not only they didn't just seal it with it on top.
Yeah.
What they did was originally they accidentally got it and they didn't want to take it off because they were like, oh damn, it's gonna rip the box. So all they did was cut the portion of the tape off and left the tape on the Funko and then resealed it with another piece of tape.
That is very tacky.
I would have a big stink, but it's like a common one. It would have cost me more money to ship it back, and then whatever, man. It's a headache.
I see. Well, so what kind of holy grails do you have in your movie or TV collection?
Like you said, it all depends on demand, the value, the rarity. I would say my first big purchase that I had, I say on average, like you said, Blu-rays anywhere from $15 to high end $25, right?
Right.
Um, anything above that's like, oh wow, you're spending extra money because of the exclusiveness of it, or you know, it has a lot more features. But I actually, this is still unopened, not because I want to maintain its value. It's just because I'm not like a fanboy of the series, and I haven't had that inkling to watch these yet. But that is the 20th. I want to say it's 20 decades of James Bond, the box set.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, you saw this before because I was trying to sell it, to flip it, but it's basically all the movies up till Skyfall, and a lot of people in the community was like, "Oh wow, that's like one of the highest. You know, you can get it less than $100, and that's retail. Now you could probably get this, you know, a little bit lower than what I paid for it, um, because they released another edition of this, a smaller version. So you really have to, if you're a big James Bond fan, um, you'll like this, is because there's like a nice packaging booklet that each movie has its own, you know, it has some information about the movie and then a nice picture. So it's kind of like a book with the movies in each sleeve.
Got it.
But unless you're a big James Bond fan, if you just want the movies just to have it in your collection, there's a different set, a cheaper set. They sell these individually. So to me, to call it a holy grail, I wouldn't say this is a holy grail according to me. It's just my first big purchase over $100. So that's one way of looking at holy grail. As far as, I got a Funko here, which is probably one of the rarest, well, in my collection, but of this line. So people, what I think more in terms of holy grail is how rare it is, how on the market is that hard to find. See that James Bond set? It's not hard to find. It's just, it has a lot of movies, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's a nice, pretty box. This one, however, they don't make it anymore. And it's a part of a big set, the Game of Thrones set, which is popular. The show's one of the most popular shows right now going on. Is that if people got into the Funkos a little bit later, then they couldn't have Renly Baratheon. And this goes mint condition, goes for over $200, and I only paid what, I don't know, $10, $8 at Barnes and Nobles, and they had a bunch of these at the time. So if I would have known, I would have bought them all. But
yeah, that's one of the things about collecting figures is honestly, it's a lot tougher. Well, then again, what I mean to say is if people are into collecting for the sake of flipping things, trying to come up with those projections are always tough, because they are, at least from my own personal experience, not that I flip toys, from my own personal experience, I just realized that the fluctuations in the secondary market for any sort of toy that you collect is pretty much random, and it is hard to actually figure out in the future.
yeah,
You just never know. Everything just happens by either luck or some other situation. But yeah, it is very unpredictable. That's the word I was trying to think of.
so I got an example of something that didn't pique my interest at all until an event happened that changed the way I looked at something. So, and then by this big event happening and causing, the interest, the demand of being there, caused this Blu-ray set to be so in demand that the prices are way jacked up. It's out of print. It's hard to get. But I think I got this in the Walmart 788 bin. And that is the Pokemon collector set, 4 movies.
How did that go up in value?
So the reason why this went up in value is the Pokemon Go app. And so by that generating a lot of interest of people who were like, I don't really, never watched it, or it caused the demand to be people like, okay, well, I don't know what all these characters are. Let me go find something that can, old cartoons, old movies. And so, and a lot of people were just like, oh man, this is bringing back a lot of nostalgia for me.
You do have a point there. In one of the previous episodes of this show, me and Swan, we got together because I told Swan, when Pokemon Go came out and I started playing it, it made me want to go back and watch the series, just Gen 1. And thankfully, I got Boomerang on my channel, so I was able to watch the reruns that they put up every weekday.
Mm-hmm.
So that brought up a lot of good memories. I wasn't so much into the movies because it's in most cases, due to the length of the story, it makes me lose interest somewhere in the middle, and then the interest comes back towards the climax of the film. I'm more used to getting those 30-minute storylines, or if a storyline does drag into more parts, again, they'll just split it up and then they'll give it to me in 30-minute segments, if you will. So it was pretty hard for me to sit through an hour 30 of one story that progressed.
Yeah. So I don't even know if these are all the movies or what particular ones. Do you remember the first movie that came out? What it was called?
I forgot what the first one was called.
Okay.
I'm going to take a quick guess that it was called Pokemon the movie.
Okay, this one's Pokemon Heroes, the movie.
Okay.
There's Pokemon Forever, Pokemon Jirachi, Wishmaker, and Pokemon Destiny Deoxys, the movie. So I couldn't even tell you if that's like the only 4, or these are from the made for TV movies.
They were not made for TV. They actually had its own theatrical release. I cannot remember exactly what the first title was or the first movie version was. It's been so long, but I will say that the first movie had mostly Gen 1, but it started to kind of transition. It was on the verge of transitioning to Gen 2 through the introduction of Slowking. And Slowking is the third evolution form of Slowpoke.
Okay.
So in that case, what was I trying to say about? Yeah, it is what it is.
So I showed you like one that I paid the most, I guess. I had one that kind of just as, some event in a new app came out which repopularized this series, made that go, up in value, out of print. And then as far as the Funkos, I want to say well, spoiler alert, something happened in the TV show to this character, which also made it, you know, more rare. Um, do you have any things in yours? Because I got one more that I want to show you that I would consider my favorite, most prized possession, Holy Grail type, and then there's another mention of something that I still want that I consider a Holy Grail.
Oh, cool. So for on my end of things, as far as Funko Pops go, I do have the San Diego Comic Con version of Sharknado. It's in the other room. I didn't bother to get it because it's underneath a stack of other Funkos.
Uh, I saw it in real person from you, so I know you have it.
Did I show it?
You brought it to Shark Week.
I did. Oh, oh wow, that was a long time ago, so I forgot I did. Yeah. So yeah, when I bought that, of course, I had no idea just how much interest it would have shot up. I think the Fourth Awakens has something to do with it. So after that movie came out, suddenly everybody wanted it. So lucky for me, I was able to get it when it was a lot more obtainable.
Yeah.
And since the market went up, it is definitely my most coveted Funko Pop that I own. Aside from that, I do have some Holy Grails from my X Plus collection. I think right off the bat, what comes to mind is Biolante. She is massive. Wow, just I think if I remember the specs correctly, she is about at least a foot, maybe more tall. Keep in mind now she's slouching, and then if you want to account for the tendrils, the vines, she is pushing from 2.5 to maybe 3 feet wide. So the reason why that's coveted a lot by collectors is because as far as other Godzilla related kaiju that has been made in the mass market, Biolante was always one of the more obscure characters. We have seen Bandai make their own representation of Biolante, but of course, at the time, it was all they had, so therefore, it was the most accepted, despite a few flaws, such as the details of the teeth and all these other sort of things that went into the design that wasn't quite movie accurate. And then there has been later on down the road a smaller capsule toy version called Bandai HG, and what it was is one of those like bubblegum machines.
Yeah.
Well, in Japan, there are capsule toy machines. So inside of a plastic ball capsule, you have a figure. And when they started to release a set of Godzilla toys, Biolante was in one of the series. She came into the little capsule toy disassembled, and of course, you had to assemble it yourself. But basically, that was the next best thing besides the larger scale that we as collectors had up to date. But then we have this brand called X Plus, who happened to make these figures with probably the best details that you could ever see from a mass-produced line. So when Biolante was finally added to one of the waves, one of the series, a lot of people at that time was still a little bit, well, they were happy to see it being made, but at the same time, considering the price point of it, it was still hard to get. So at the time, it was how much somebody would have to invest just to get one. There was a running joke that says, oh, if you buy a Biolante, that's almost the same as putting a down payment on your house. So the amount was that relatable.
Yeah.
So considering that X Plus's system, which I believe is they just match the amount of pre-orders they actually got from customers, that alone already adds a cutoff to how much actually were made in print. So by the time they match all of those orders, but you will have to pay a little bit more once that figure comes up into aftermarket prices, and especially if that figure comes with a lot of attention and demand. So Biolante is definitely one of those monsters that was very obscure, was welcomed from the whole collector base as a great addition to their existing Biolante collection, but the obstacles you had to go over just to obtain her was pretty much difficult. And for those who couldn't get past all those obstacles, they would have to wait and succumb to the secondary market prices. And of course, by the time it reached eBay and everything was way out of print, the prices only went up higher.
Yeah.
So at this point, that Biolante figure has been reissued twice, but even then, it's still uh, uh, it's still sought after because, again, it's not easy for a lot of people to get them, and of course, it's all about timing too. When really, if you're into collecting full time and then something happens, like a sudden announcement, sometimes you will either be prepared or you won't be prepared. And
Yeah.
for those who were unfortunate to have just horrible timing at that moment, all they can do is wait again and then see if they have a deal that they are the most comfortable with, whether it be closest to the retail market price or not. So with that said, it's considering how massive the Biolante figure is, of course, I can't really carry it with me at the moment. But I do have one figure from the X Plus collection. I didn't bother to check whether this one went high up in value or not, but this was a really good stepping stone for me. And this is the X Plus Dino Tank figure.
Wow.
This kaiju was actually featured in Ultra 7, and it just so happens to be my most favorite episode out of that whole series. And the cool thing about Dino Tank is basically what you see is what you get. The aliens have actually created a cyborg, a hybrid of a dinosaur on tank treads, and it's equipped with these 3 cannons here, and he can shoot lasers out of its eyes.
Does anything come out of his little mouth?
Not necessarily. The monster did use its mouth to actually hold a bomb in it.
Okay.
Of course, that backfired because after the bomb dropped out of its mouth, Ultra 7 uses that boomerang beam attack to make it detonate right in front of it, and then the monster exploded.
Okay, it just looks a little like something fits in this gap or whatever. Like there's a hole in there.
Yeah. A bomb did fit in his mouth.
Okay.
But the reason why this holds a lot of value for me personally is because Dino Tank is is another kaiju that was on the more obscure category. Bandai have created a mass market of it in the 6-inch figure line, but of course there are limitations considering how much the product should go for and how much detail they can incorporate just to keep everything within the budget. So I got some good figures that were in the 6-inch scale and smaller than that had pretty good detail, but I was waiting for something that was in a larger scale and had the best detail overall. So luckily, X Plus did get the licensing to make a run of Dino Tank figures, and as soon as that announcement was made, I had to do it.
Yeah.
And speaking about Biolante, although I couldn't show the X Plus version, I do have the smaller version. This is the SH Monster Arts version. And of course, everything is superposable and articulated. It came with a light up feature where I flip the switch and the stomach part should glow either orange or it will pulsate into like every 1 second interval. I took out the batteries because I didn't want the acid to leak inside of it, so I couldn't really demonstrate how the feature works. But the Biolante figure, even in the SH Monster Arts line, there was another pretty difficult hurdle for collectors to go through because of the timing. So that, and it was part of a Tamashii web exclusive, which means unlike regular mass-produced lines that SH Monster Arts has had, the Tamashii web exclusive comes in, I think they come in more limited numbers. And it's especially put in that line for, again, the more rarer, the more, I keep using this word a lot, but I have to say it again, obscure kaiju, because, it's all about supply and demand. They have to kind of guess how much an obscure kaiju will get in terms of supplying what was needed. So therefore, getting a Biolante was a little bit difficult to get. And as soon as all of that was out of print, although Bluefin's, the only distributor among North America, was able to get all of that mass released in America, the prices, I wouldn't say price, but the value of Biolante went up after all of that went out of print, because, this is the only figure of Biolante that is as posable as it is, and it's definitely something that has a lot of good paint job and has a lot of great detail to go along with it as well.
Okay, so what would you say, I guess, in terms of if there's one thing out there that you could have that, you either always wanted or you're in the process of trying to get, what is that for your collection?
Good question. So I do have a list of things that I do want.
Damn. Well, you want that? Narrow it down.
Okay, yeah. So far, there is 2 that comes to mind, and they come from X Plus. So X Plus, right now, it hasn't been released yet, and I was foolish that I didn't get put in my pre-order in time, so I'm going to have to wait it out on eBay. But X Plus will be releasing their the Godzilla 2016 figure in late November. So that's later on this month, actually. And so X Plus has this thing where they issue 2 different versions. You have the normal mass-produced regular version, which is something you can find in all of the online stores that accepts pre-orders for them. And then you have the Shonen Rick exclusive version, which is only available through X Plus's own personal web store. The thing is, while the Rick website did open up a new policy where they ship things overseas, however, considering that I haven't really tried to order it personally from the Shonen Rick website, but I think there's still a language barrier that customers would have to go through. Again, I may be wrong, but basically the whole idea is that the Shonen Rick version is one of those things where you need to act fast, otherwise you will miss out. And so the Shonen Rick version of Godzilla 2016 has him posed specifically when he opened up his mouth and did the very first atomic breath attack. So the regular version would just have a regular Godzilla 2016 version. I keep saying that. It'll just be a regular Godzilla, not having his mouth open like he's gonna do the atomic breath attack. Instead, his mouth is closed and it's as if he's just walking forward. But the Rick version, we like to call it Rick for short. The Rick version will actually have interchangeable head features, so you can pose him as if he is just neutral and walking forward like the regular release, or you can pop the head off and replace it with Godzilla about to do his atomic birth.
Okay.
So that is one, and I didn't get my pre-order in on time. It's way past the deadline of getting those pre-orders in, so I will have to wait and get it on eBay. So again, it goes back to my original point of timing. By the time it was announced, it caught me off guard, and I wasn't really prepared for that.
Yeah.
So another X Plus Holy Grail that I want to get comes from another line that they do, which is called the X Plus Gigantic series. And the one I want to get was the very first large scale, gigantic scale, if you will, version of the GMK Godzilla, which is Godzilla 2001. It was the very first Godzilla figure that was made in the gigantic line. And at first, I didn't like it because if people were to look at Godzilla 2001 and then they look at the gigantic version that X Plus has released, you'll see that it does have some accuracy to how the monster looked on screen, but at the same time, there were a lot of artistic liberties taken to the design to give it a whole different look.
Yeah.
That's because when X Plus released the figure, they actually obtained rights to get the mold from an artist who happened to make his very own what is called a garage kit. A garage kit is basically an unbuilt, an unassembled, and unpainted model kit. And that's what these artists specialize in. They like to make their own renderings of a kaiju, Godzilla, and every other things that they have permission to do into their own creation. And then as soon as they have it displayed on some Toy Fest, and which is what they call Wonder Festival, as soon as they get those out and give it some advertising, then they sell their displayed prototype into their own limited run. But at the same time, you just have things that are in pieces, that are molded in one specific color, and it doesn't come with a paint set. So if you are a skilled artist, you're going to have to do that, do all of the building and painting by yourself. So what X Plus did was take those some great model kits, some garage kits, and said, look, we want to get the molds from you so that we can assemble them, paint them ourselves, and then just sell them for a limited run.
So if you were like right now, what's the difference if you would have got it pre-ordered, the price back then to what it's going for now? What's the difference?
So it really does reflect on the limited, how much of them are available and how soon you can get it. So right now, when I looked at the projections of how the figure is going, let's take, for example, the Shin Godzilla 2016 version. I looked at the projections of what they go for now because because of my timing. Comparing that price range with, let's say, what I could have gotten had I made in a pre-order, the price went up about 30%, not including shipping charges. So if the Shin Godzilla Shonen Rick exclusive happens to keep getting a lot of positive attention, a lot of positive feedback, and the demand is still high, the projections could reach double in a matter of, I would say, half a year, maybe.
Yeah.
That is exactly what has happened to some X Plus toys.
So it's always a safe, like you're in a, what you like, the niche of the product, you'll never have an issue of reselling. It holds its value.
Correct. Well, in most cases, the figures that X Plus release, the whole notion is if you're going to collect X Plus full time, or maybe even part-time, the first rule that everyone basically agrees on is order it now then never. As soon as it comes out on pre-order, or as soon as it is announced, act now, because once the deadline closes, the aftermarket prices will only go up from there. But then again, there are other things that heavily depends on it. Godzilla 2016 right now is very hot. The movie got a lot of positive buzz. A lot of people are happy with how the monster was projected, and they were happy with how the monster looks. Therefore, there has been a lot of attention from the Japanese collectors and other and international collectors, towards mostly all figures that have to do with that incarnation of Godzilla. So the SH Monster, I have to go back to SH Monster S a little bit. That version actually is going up in value as we speak. Lucky for me, I got my pre-order in for that figure. What went wrong though was that Bluefin, the normal distributor of those figures into North America, couldn't get the licensing to distribute those toys into the American market. So what that means is you will not find these in Barnes and Nobles. You won't find these in most American online stores unless if they have ordered directly from Japan. You won't see them anywhere in North America. Therefore, everyone's going to eBay, and they are trying to get theirs in soon and for the deal that they are comfortable with, because it's only available so far in Japan. There is a chance that it will be re-released, but who knows? There have been times where a Godzilla figure has been brought back for a second release, and around that time, if it does happen, I'm pretty sure Bluefin will happen to get their orders in, and I think their second time will happen to be successful. So in the case of X Plus, the Godzilla 2016 version, the Shonen Rick version, has a limited run, and the plans of having the special version where he does the atomic breath pose is uncertain whether it will be re-released or not. And there have been other kaiju characters that have gone up in value because of how they were designed, because of, again, a lot of positive feedback, and there are still new collectors that are jumping into this hobby that suddenly are late to the party, and they want to get a hold of those figures as well.
Mm-hmm.
However, the rule doesn't apply to all. There have been a few figures that have been able to retain its value to what they were in the normal market, or it spiked a little bit, but not significantly. So if you look over my shoulder, you see Titanosaurus right here.
Yeah.
That at one point it was going up in value because only Japan has released it for its first run, and those who came late to the party wanted to get a Titanosaurus figure as well, because, well, there hasn't been that many mass-produced Titanosaurus figures. There have been from Bandai, but again, if collectors, the really serious collectors, had a chance to get one that is larger in scale and has a lot of better details, they would want to get the X Plus version. But doesn't matter whether they like the design or not. It was kind of one of the best of the bunch, so to speak. Kind of. I mean, so it did get some mixed reviews.
How much does that figure go for?
So this is one of the cases that actually went down in value, because after the first run from Japan, Diamond Comics distributors got licensing to get a reissue of the X Plus figures so that they could distribute them to the North American market. So the Titanosaurus has actually retained its value from the market price. And if somebody wants some projections, it's Normally, I don't like to talk price, but it's normally around the 200 range.
Okay. Well, a lot of people, I think, that want to start collecting it see all those, or like Godzilla toys. Oh, you know, that's probably only $30 if I were to see that at a Toys R Us. They don't know, you
It's
know,
true.
what you have back there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very good point there, Blue.
Yeah.
Come to think of it, when I did jump into the collector's hobby a lot more seriously years ago, I did not know what I was getting myself into, and this is one of the rules where you're gonna have to pay to play. I mean, collecting alone is, to most, it is an expensive hobby, and so therefore, it when as although getting into it may seem difficult at first, it comes to a point where if you actually love what you do, you start to deal with these challenges and try to figure out how to make things work.
Yeah. Okay. Um, let's see. You had two, so I got a couple of sets that I've always been interested in, but never pulled the trigger. Um, and you're familiar with the show, but it's been re-released or it's going to. And like you said, there's that pre-order date. So the same goes with movies. Is like whether they're steel books or exclusives or a re-release, new release. There's that pre-order date where you can pre-order it, like reserve a copy. And they're re-releasing on Blu-ray the Twilight Zone complete series of the show. And
Nice.
I've always wanted that on Blu-ray. So when that first came out on Blu-ray, maybe about 3-4 years ago, I was like, I need this. And it was going for like $200-$300. And I'm like, man, I would rather, have the DVDs and watch that, because it is in actuality black and white. But there's, as you know, on some of the Godzilla stuff, or there's some black and white on Blu-ray can make a big difference. Crisp.
Oh yeah.
So that's coming out in December for only like 80 something dollars for all the episodes. So
Is this
that's
something
something
you have to
that,
order online, or can we
oh,
find it in
I'm
a Walmart
sure
or something?
Walmart. Yeah, Walmart. Um, but I'm not sure about the price exactly. They usually fluctuate. Either online's cheaper by $5-$10, or I don't know if that's a special deal. But the price to me for $80, dude, that's very reasonable. I've never seen the original set lower than $100, so it's like, okay, it might be cheaper at stores. Who knows? But that's something like I gotta have. Um, I don't know if you're familiar with Hayao Miyazaki.
Oh yeah, I am very familiar.
Okay, so that's probably the most famous, arguably the best, animator, Japanese anime. He does a lot of the work with Disney. And so they have a box set they just released, I think it was earlier this year, of all his movies. I have all his US released movies already from Disney, Studio Ghibli. I have those all already individually, but there's this awesome, box sets with all the goodies. So, like maybe like a picture book, like autograph, um, artwork in there, a lot of bonus features. So that's something that I also would seek out for a decent price. And then lastly, something that I'm not like a fanboy of, but gradually I've been getting, more familiar, more, I guess, with samurais in general. And there's this Zatoichi box set. Are you familiar with Zatoichi?
Oh, Zatoichi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's this like box set with over 20 movies from the Criterion collection, which is over $100. But Barnes and Nobles will have sales. They just got one over, but I think this title's out of print, the Zatoichi box set. But sometimes stores will get like a limited supply in, and you could get it for 50% off. So I'm just waiting for our local Barnes and Nobles to have copies of that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
those are some that, yeah, that I would say I really have to have.
cool. But is there anything in the Funko Pops line that you would love to get?
Oh yeah, the headless Ned Stark San Diego Comic Con exclusive, the headless Herschel San Diego Comic Con exclusive from The Walking Dead.
Cool, man. I got the mystery mini version of that one, so
Uh,
I could imagine how the Funko Pop version must be.
yeah, those Ned Stark's in the thousands. Herschel, last I've seen it was over 500. So it's, and what's crazy is I could have bought one, I think, for like $60 just a year or two ago. And some of it's, who's going to really pay for that much, but I've seen some sold for that much. So
I totally get the point. I mean, when I bought the Sharknado exclusive, at first, of course, the prices were obviously higher than what people actually paid at the con.
yeah,
And the truth is, when I was actually buying Funko's products, I was still relatively new to that line. So the idea of paying that much for just a Funko Pop toy at the time seemed unfathomable, you know? So it was still relatively new, but if we knew what we know now
oh yeah,
back then, things would have
yeah,
been different, and we would say, oh, what, like maybe 20-30 bucks, no problem. It
yeah. So
was just unheard of at the time. But
that's
with
one
the
of
way
the,
things are going right now, with things fetching for hundreds of
yeah.
dollars, it's like, it wasn't so bad.
I mean, you saw the people that, I mean, we were at Maui Comic Con. We had a booth. I brought a lot of my collection, my pops.
Oh yeah.
I'm kind of in the phase of it's just getting out of control. Like pops, you remember the Beanie Baby craze?
Yes.
And they just started oversaturating it, like different color of this, different line of this. It's just I see Funko Pops getting that way where people are realize, oh my god, it's just plastic. It's just, you know what I mean? It I want to get out when there's still meat on the table before everyone just like, oh my god, there's so many. It's like I even lost interest in pops altogether, man.
Yeah, I got
Because
you.
every freaking TV show, every cartoon, every even there's a Trump, a Hillary Funko Pop. It's
I
crazy.
I really do understand why, to some extent, why people would want to compare Beanie Babies with Funko Pops. It's because they are basically everywhere. You can find them in almost every store, and the availability is very abundant. But at the same time, I really am not sure, from my own perspective, if whether the market value will be able to retain itself or not. I think what probably would keep the interest up for those toys, not all of them, but a select of them, is due to the rarity of those characters alone. I mean, I always like to bring in Big Trouble in Little China because before Funko actually made toys of those characters, there hasn't been much to offer in the form of toys. There has been one line that whose brand
React.
I can't remember. No, React is still part of Funko.
Okay.
So this one happened. It did happen years ago, but the quality of them, reminds me of Mezco, those kinds of manufacturers. So going back to those toys, there hasn't been much that there was to offer in regards to those characters, and trying to get them was difficult as it is. Now here comes Funko releasing the Big Trouble in Little China toys in the form of Funko Pops and not Mystery Minis. I meant reaction figures. I mean, it did happen to solve the demand for that market.
Yeah.
If they happen to just cut off the number of supplies that they will give, and let's say that it is the right amount of toys supplying that demand, from that point on, any new fan base that the movie acquires that just got into toy collecting will want those things, and then that's where the market for that line alone will retain its value or maybe be profitable. However, where it does get oversaturated is when when there's a license picked up for a movie or a TV show that has so many of those characters already in toy form. But again, it all depends on what Funko has made. So far, what is getting a lot of attention and a lot of demand, a lot of value, are the ones that were made in an exclusive limited number edition. And that was smart. We've seen Jason Funko Pops that's maybe covered in blood,
different variations.
Yeah, different variations depending on the variant and whatever gets the most popular vote. That could stand strong on its own. However, again, if we were to go to a movie or a TV show that did supply figures for those characters, but yet there are a lot of them, and what Funko provided was just another thing on the table that doesn't quite hold its value compared to other toy manufacturers, that's where the fan base will be lost.
Yeah, and what I meant, I'm not only in thinking of what reasons why I stopped buying Funkos and trying to sell off some circumstances is, I move a lot, and so I don't want to have another big collection to move and pay the cost of shipping.
Oh yeah, so that's another good one.
That's a reason. But for me, I'm the type, before House of Blues, I was Blu-ray hoarder, and I'm a big completist. So if I buy something out of the line, I have to have them all. And so when they were releasing, like, oh man, Pulp Fiction, love that movie. Okay, I have to buy them all. Cool, I got the whole set. Oh, Goonies. Oh my God, I love that movie. Boom. Not only did I have to buy Chuck, but oh man, Sloth. Oh, gotta have Data. You gotta have all the characters. And so
can you tell me that they had different covers of the movie with different characters?
No, I'm talking Funko. I'm talking.
I was thinking in terms of movies. I'm sorry.
No, I'm in terms of Funko Pops. That's why I had to stop, and that's why I was selling the Funko Pops is because, yes, get the exclusives. They're gonna hold their value, but even with the exclusives, now everyone's doing the exclusives. GameStop, Hot Topic, you know what I mean?
Amazon,
The Chase, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. San Diego, all the Comic-Cons, different Comic-Cons. And so it's just knowing me and my desire to collect is dude, this is gonna be expensive. It may pay off in the long run, but just to keep up, you'd be tempted to like, oh my god, that's only $10. I know that's gonna go up in value. And that, it also takes a lot of time researching all this stuff.
Oh yeah, collecting comes with a lot of homework to be done, and it's not as simple for people to think, oh, I'll just get this, and because it's rare and you don't see it anymore, I can just slap whatever price tag I want on it. It doesn't work that way. Just because a toy is rare, it doesn't mean that it's valuable. It could be just something that's out of print that nobody has interest in at all.
Yes, and if we weren't at a Comic-Con selling off those, it would be way more difficult to sell that stuff to a general audience or to,
Oh, I can attest to that because I have just regular run of Godzilla figures, and that was a lot. There was a lot of challenge of me to get those things on consignment for just the general customers that happen to go through, Maui Comics and Collectibles. So it took a comic convention for me to sell the stuff that I had trouble selling in a different venue.
There, exactly.
I took them, I happened to get permission from the owner to take them off consignment and try my luck through the con. First day, both of them went out.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. So it just goes to show you, bottom line with the collectibles, holy grails, it's always subjective. It depends on, is there an interest? Are people still interested about it?
Yeah.
Is there still the demand? But there's always the collector, no matter what. Whether it's Godzilla, whether it's movies, whether it's Funko Pops, there's people who always love the thought of reliving their childhood and having that as a memory. And there's also people who just like stuff, it makes them feel good. It makes them, you have a whole wall, a whole room of movies that makes me like, I feel like watching that. Boom, I have it. You know what I mean?
When I checked out your videos on YouTube where you show off what you happen to get your latest collection haul, I think that's what they've been titled.
Updates, yeah.
I always enjoyed watching your videos because I watch what you got, but at the same time, I love looking what's in the background because you didn't know this, but I dubbed that room the vault.
Oh, okay.
I called it the vault.
You know what? I have never seen a lot of it.
I've never seen a collection being displayed in that sort of way ever on Maui. So you were the first.
No. Like I said, I believe that the way I collected, that's more of a problem than an actual passion.
It's only a problem when you acknowledge it as a problem. That's the first step.
So,
it's like a Blu-ray intervention, if you.
Yes. So, I was one of those people. Is like, well, if you have the means, why not? Instead of going to the movies, hey, I don't go to the theater that often, as opposed to other people. I just chose to save money and buy it on Blu-ray. Why not own it for spending $20 at the movie theater for a movie and a popcorn and a drink? Why not buy a couple Blu-rays? And so it's you call it the vault, and that's a good way of looking at it. I mean, it's the house of blues to me because it's my house and it's a bunch of Blu-rays, but it's too bad before I boxed up everything and everything's all scattered. It's that you wanted to do a little segment, and maybe, we could do it on a live stream. Like maybe I do it on my phone and I just show you briefly on my phone. But a lot of people are curious. It looks like that on camera, but in person, what does it, how does it feel? How big's that room? How much is there? Am I seeing everything? And so just to be in be in that room, see it in person, it may be either like, oh, it's not as much as I thought, or it's like, dude, like, and usually it's the latter where you get that, what the hell? It's like, oh my god, where did
As
you get
far
all
as I'm concerned, if there is just one whole room dedicated to a
Yeah,
collection, that
yeah,
is a vault, no matter how big or small it is.
and then some stuff in the closet, stuff in the hallway closet. So,
Right.
um, I want to my holy grail right now in my collection. Um, this is something that I have on different formats, so I can watch it. Right there's no purpose of having this because I already have the same version but in different packaging, and the only reason why I got it is because my favorite movie. Normally I wouldn't get something just for its packaging because it's a movie, you have to open it. Why? Unless it means something to you. And since it's my favorite movie, I had to jump on this. And just like your what's your line called? TH what?
Which line?
MX, the type of Godzillas you got.
Oh, X plus. X plus.
Okay, so X plus. So this company is from Korea called Plain Archives, and that's like, I would say it's better than Criterion, Shout Factory, but they're pretty much a company that puts out great editions. This is the steelbook of, it's hard to see, but I Saw the Devil. Okay, and it's a steelbook plus it has like a nice slip box. But it's limited to 3,000.
Holy smokes!
Yeah, and so it, this like instantly like doubled in value on pre-order when it sold out on pre-order day. People were jacking the prices for people.
Admittedly, before you and I shared a booth over at Maui Comic-Con, I had no idea what steelbooks were.
Oh, okay, yeah,
that day was the first time I ever heard of it. So I'm gonna ask some stupid questions. So a steelbook, is the cover really metal?
Yes,
because I do have some CD album covers that are made out of metal as well.
Yep. So it's made out of, I don't know what kind, maybe aluminum, maybe, but it's metal, and then it's like tin, the same kind of as
Right.
a tin, popcorn tin. But it's just the packaging. That's all it is the artwork too. Is like, okay, well, there's nothing to do with the packaging other than protecting your Blu-ray. So, but for most people, it's the artwork of what they put on there. Like, oh my God, it's artwork. People don't even care about the movie. They care about the way the steelbook looks. So the glossiness of it. Is it a matte finish? Is it, sometimes they have hinges on the sides instead of.
Those who did open it, did they include some extra stuff to go along with the Blu-ray disc? Maybe some little photo cards or some foldable poster that regular releases wouldn't have?
Yes, a lot of times the exclusives do that, anniversary editions, whatnot. But like with anything, once you open it, especially with toys, chances are it's not in mint anymore once you open it. Factory sealed. So I don't even care how much this goes up in price. It's just for being an avid movie lover and to say, okay, this is currently my best film until another one tops it. I have yet to have another film top this one.
I would have to recommend that you keep that sealed because, well,
there's no reason. I already see on the internet, thank God the internet, you can see other people open it up and play around with it.
Right. For me personally, if had I bought a steelbook, I would have to keep it sealed regardless, because due to the fact that my house is near the beach, the salty air will cause the tin surface to rust if I don't protect it. So
yeah.
me and steelbooks are not a good mix, unless if I move to a more drier, less humid region.
Yeah. And steelbooks aren't huge, I would say, but you can see when you go to Target and Walmart and it'll say exclusive, Walmart exclusive, Target exclusive. It'll say steelbook on there and you'll be like, oh, that's why. You'll now know, oh, why is this a different hat? And then this is the regular Blu-ray. What's different about it? Oh, that's a steelbook. You'll see a lot of those on some of the more popular movies.
Oh, cool. All right, so if you don't mind, let's just move on to the random question of the day.
Yep.
All right, so the random question is, since you and I are both collectors, normally there's a line between whether we open the packaging or we don't open the packaging, depending on who you ask. The thought of opening anything is just unimaginable, because they like to appreciate it for it being still sealed and keeping it as new and fresh as possible. What's your take on it? Do you prefer opening or keeping things sealed?
Again, in terms of, I have to separate the movie collection itself, is because, of course, you're going to have to, if it's your only copy, open it and watch it. But for me, keeping it sealed. And that's just because I don't have an interest in holding it, feeling it. I'm thinking more in terms of, probably the business side of it, the businessman, knowing, like, if I would have, as a kid, and I get the arguments for both, but when you're a kid, you don't care about any packaging. You're ripping that sucker apart.
Yeah, you want to play with the toys.
Yes. So as a kid, I could see, like, okay, who cares about the packaging? I want to have fun. I want to have fun with this toy. But a collector side is, dude, that destroys the value by you just breaking the seal, basically. And so I've learned more in the collecting is just have it, put it away.
Right.
I have no need. I mean, some adults play with toys, and that's fine. Like, I might do a little, like, if I had Star Wars right now, a lot of the Star Wars and G.I. Joes, I might have, I mean, not like, like play karate or anything, but I might actually put them in position like a war setting. You know what I mean?
Display them like dioramas.
I kind of display it the way it is and position them. Just off topic, you got a comment from 4K Cinema in the chats. 4K Cinema HD. Nice. I know him. He loves Godzilla. He says, "What an amazing Godzilla collection you have there, Rave Corner."
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And that's just not even scratching the surface. I got more in another room.
Yeah, and he's a big Godzilla fan too. I wouldn't say he has a few figures that I've saw, but he has some exclusive, like, Blu-rays, box editions of Godzilla. So it's amazing.
I actually went out of my way to order from Japan this. It came out in 2014. It was when Legendary's Godzilla came out within that same year. And so Japan did this special box set where they have you got the DVD copy of it in Japanese, and then next to it is a limited run of Godzilla 2014 by SH Monster Arts with a different paint variant. So this one was painted more of a fiery red with some orange and yellow tips, as if he's having a meltdown phase like you would see in Godzilla 1995.
Yeah.
Technically not the most, it's not even movie accurate by a mile, because Godzilla never ever once went that far into radioactivity inside. But I got it anyways because I thought the color scheme looked really cool, and I did a review on that for my blog. But if you were to ask me whether I would keep things in box or not, judging from what you see in the background, there are a lot of figures that are loose. But at the same time, I am in the middle because admittedly, there are some toys that I did take out because I want to review them. I want to, if it's a SH Monster Arts figure, I want to mess around with the posability and do a review on it just to demonstrate what they're capable of. On the flip side, there has been some things that have been hard for me to break the seal open or take out for the sake of a review. I have a few X Plus toys that I haven't taken out of the box. One of them is Batra in its larval stage. I have Godzilla 1984 version in X Plus. It's a 30 centimeter edition, and I have never opened up the seal on that one. I did.
That's what it's worth?
How much it's worth?
No, is it because how much it's worth?
Yeah. Yeah, what happened was I bought it off of eBay after it was out of print, and then when I considered how much I paid just to get it, the thought of all the hassle I went through and then to break open the seal, it didn't sit well with me, so I never ever did it. But lucky for me, Diamond Comics distributors got more licensing to reissue more X Plus toys, and sure enough, the Godzilla 1984 version is in that line. So I already got the pre-order for that one, and as soon as that one gets in, I'm gonna open that one and do a review on that. So it is my very first X Plus duplicate. Everything else is just one copy that I personally own.
You gotta explain to me a little bit, because you did mention this before about they're gonna reissue it. Does that mean it's different in any way, or is it the same exact toy, the same exact packaging, just they had more of them? Or is a reissue there, it's like there's a difference between the original release of when you got it as opposed to this, or there's completely nothing you can tell the difference?
So the best part about the reissues are that we are getting the same mode and basically the same paint job, the same color scheme, as well as the same boxing. However, there is a slight variation. If you happen to get a Diamond exclusive reissue, of course, you can obviously tell because what they did was borrow the original Japanese cover art, but they slapped on the previous exclusive sticker on the top right corner. And in the back, you'll see Diamond Comics logo, sticker slapped on the back. And then I know that there has been at least one figure that has had a few slight paint variations that were able to distinguish it from the Japanese release and the American release, and that was Godzilla 2001 in the 30 centimeter scale. The American version had some sort of red paint applied on the lower lip area, whereas the Japanese version didn't have it. Nobody knows why. The American version of Godzilla looks like it had its mouth cloaked in blood, like it bit something. Nobody knows why they went with that, with such decisions, but it is what it stands. But with the later issues of X Plus toys, to be honest with you, other than the box art, I couldn't tell the subtle differences between that and the Japanese print.
Yeah, but
they still retain different values, though. There are some hardcore collectors who prefer seeing just the original Japanese box art with no previous exclusive.
And that's what I was going to say.
On. There is still that.
There is a way to tell the difference, and if it was identical when they reissue it, I would have been a little pissed.
Yeah, honestly, I will tell you this: the first sign to look for is the box art. You can tell it. Just look for the previous exclusive sticker and Diamond Comics sticker on the box. However, let's say you were to buy an X Plus figure loose. What you do is that you turn the foot upside down and you look at the printing. I believe that you will see the copyright stamp of when it got reissued on that that later date, and it should have.
That answers a lot.
I think it does have the previous exclusive stamping on there. Hold on, let me check for a second.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, so I did just check the Titanosaurus. You've seen it in the background. I took it off the shelf.
Yep.
So there are two different copyright stamps printed on his feet. One was the original date of when the first run was issued. In the case of Titanosaurus, it was 2012. But there's a second trademark stamp on them, which is 2016, and that's the exact year I got it in.
Nice.
So those are the subtle differences.
Okay. Just checking. So,
again, depending on what you are looking for, the demand for Titanosaurus is still pretty much stagnant. So therefore, you can get away with buying the reissued version for about the same as the market price. But again, it depends on the collector's taste. If they want the original Japanese print, they can go for it. If not, they can just settle for this one.
Cool.
All right. So I think I already answered the random question. All right. So yeah, I am a hybrid. There are some things that are loose, and I do keep things boxed. So it depends.
Yeah, and going back to that, I mean, it's no one either way. There's not a right or wrong answer.
There isn't. You just have
like,
some people with different tastes. That's all.
Yep. Like I would respect if all those were in boxes displayed right now, and you haven't opened anyone. And then I respect that they're all open and on display too. I mean, better than for me to see them.
The funny thing is, after I open the toys out of their packaging, I keep the box because I like looking at the box art too.
People that don't believe this guy, he had packages of loose stuff, and he just wanted them to display them out of the box so people could actually see it and look what it is, and then he would actually take it apart and put them back in the original box for that customer. So he does hold on to all the original boxes.
That and the tags that are dangling from their necks, I could never clip them off unless if I bought it from a seller who already done it. That's as far as I go.
Yeah. So yeah. So
all right, so let's just wrap up the show. Hey, thanks a lot for joining me. Do check out the House of Blues on Instagram. It is instagram.com/the House of Blues and add an underscore in between the words. Is there anything you wanted to plug there, Blue?
No, just want to mention, well, I guess this will be after just everyone watching. I know Leroy and 4K Cinema were watching in the comments. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving and a fun Black Friday shopping day. So that's always a big thing for this time.
Oh, yeah. If you go Black Friday shopping, please be safe.
Yeah.
Last thing you want to do is avoid the people who are willing to tackle someone's grandmother for a flat screen TV on discount. Who knows? You never know. People's morals go out the door just so they can grab what they want. But yeah, I do want to retort the same. I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. Be safe on Black Friday, and yeah, just be okay. I cannot stress that enough. Please don't get hurt,
Yeah.
or do hurt onto others. And so for figure reviews and more, do check out the Rave Corner. It is myfavorite.blogspot.com, where I review Godzilla toys and more. And do check out the Rave Corner on YouTube. I am cranking out some Funko Mystery mini reviews. I have already posted my very first mini review of a mystery figure that came from Horror Classic Series 3. What is it? Well, you're going to have to tune in and check it out just to see what is up for review. And I do have sub figures coming out from the Shonen Jump line. I do have one from Five Nights at Freddy's as well, so do look out for those. And I am working out a written review. It will be on Godzilla 1989 from their latest, let's see if I can say it right, Kyukyo Kyoku line, which means light, music, sound. I can't remember if it was in that specific order.
Yeah.
So I will be posting up pictures as well as my long comprehensive review on what it is, and it will be on the main blog. Again, that is myfavorite.blogspot.com. So on behalf of myself and the House of Blues, thank you very much for tuning in. We will see you next time. Until then, have a good day.
See ya.